Alrighty, well we're here. Things are going to be a little different tonight because we're missing a couple people due to vacations and going to summer parties and whatnot. So we're going to just talk nerdy for a little bit in the beginning, and then do a one shot in a campaign setting that I've been creating. That's sort of a deserty treasure hunter Indiana Jones meets the mummy and everyone goes insane. I don't know, kind of thing. But
Except not because we don't have the lawyers.
well, yeah, exactly. I never said Indiana Jones. Just forget I ever said that. We'll just bleep that out. Oh wait, we're live. Okay.
Montana Jim.
Exactly. Yeah, Montana Jim. There you go. But anyway, so to kick things off, we have a new player that people aren't going to be seeing today, or haven't seen before. We'll see today. The one that we're not seeing today is the one that we have
Pretty
seen
sure
before,
I'm
and we'll be here.
probably
I don't even know what's
visible.
going on. I don't know. You're kind of thin, but
Turn this way, and then you'll disappear. It'll be great. Didn't work.
it's true.
Damn, that would have been an amazing skill.
But anyway,
Automatic crit success on stealth checks.
I believe Twiggy actually had that skill, and that's a really old reference. I'm sorry.
well, we're old. Um, but anyway, I know him mostly as Saren because we play Star Citizen together. But
Yeah, that game that you keep trying to force upon me.
I would never.
He'll get you eventually.
Well, he already
Well, I
he'd already
already
have it.
It's 3.0 something. It's just that I never things, just not enthused to play it.
Just yet. Soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but anyway, Saren, Austin, however you want to go, I don't care. How?
Let's go with Saren. We're all used to it.
All right. Uh, what brings you to D&D? And
I've always
describe
liked.
them.
I've always liked playing mages, and then the creativity involved in the mechanics of D&D has really kind of driven me farther towards it. And whenever I can find a group, I try to find. Unfortunately, uh, people's hectic schedules don't necessarily always line up with, how it is. So
Yes. Because I think
it's
I've attempted to join like 4 of them with you, and it just hasn't happened.
yeah, it's not because I like people genuinely typically find me like good to play with, but it's just groups don't happen that way. So oh well, sometimes shit happens.
It's true. What about
But
you?
yeah, D&D is great for creativity, though you will hardly ever find me playing anything that isn't arcane based because you're a wizard, Harry.
Yep, I've noticed. And nice chair, by the way.
Yes, it's the fabric version
Well,
of your chair.
although I think your character should die after you're a wizard, Harry.
If I earn it.
Yeah,
Fair
it could
enough.
happen.
Or just random chance. Depends on how much Murphy loves me or hates me.
He's going to hate you given him Matt's deck of cards there.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's a perfectly normal evil deck of critical hit and critical miss cards.
Uh, oh
What,
man, it's gonna be bad when I inevitably roll a critical
what,
fail.
what, what does this card say? Your mother was decapitated.
How did that happen? Hey, we've come close to that before. We have had people that have been like critical miss and they hit their friend next to them and knock them out. Actually, put them to dying. And then
Sir's better than one of my other campaigns because he played with spells. If you critically failed or succeeded in spells and abilities too, it applied those. So double or half.
oh,
Um, and he critically failed to save and took double damage at level 1 and with predictable from a fledgling green dragon's breath. And ow. Suffice to say, he abruptly ceased to exist.
Nice.
But his bones were clean.
Oh yes, they were very clean.
What about you,
Just-
Brian? Me and you have a long history of D&D together, having played for what? How many years have we played
Yeah,
D&D
but
and other RPGs together?
a long time. But I actually played D&D before you did.
I know.
Or before I met you.
I know. And
I actually remember the basic and expert sets. We never did get to the green one. What was it, Companion?
yeah, I have them still, actually.
And there was Masters and Immortal. It was back when
Yep.
Elf was a class.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That's crazy.
Elf and Dwarf was a class, and I think they had it added in the Halflings later. It was something along those lines. Back when, dungeons consisted of a vampire, a illithid, a bunch of ferrets, and 5 goblins walk into the dungeon. Just a whole bunch of random encounters.
I still remember a story you told me about your dad when you were playing D&D, and you guys were wandering through like the dungeon forever, and they came across like a 10-foot pit, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just put my 10-foot ladder over it," and you were like, "What?" And he had a 10-foot ladder in his inventory the whole time and never brought it up and was carrying it around through the whole adventure, and nobody ever saw it or hiding their hair of it until he just pulled it out and put it across a pit.
It wasn't into a pit or over a pit. It was into a pit of potentially acid.
Oh.
We were trying to figure it out. But yes, this was during like the tail end of the Satanic Panic around D&D, so he wanted to check out what it was for his own sake. And got invited into a D&D group at church, and yeah, D&D group at church in the 80s.
That's very interesting, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
This
was
is
gonna
a
say
lot.
that sounds like a thing that doesn't normally happen.
Oh, and what makes it better, it was a Baptist church.
Oh, wow.
So what you may have heard of in the past might not actually be the case. Anyway, so he rolled up a first level character, and yeah, we were wandering around the dungeon. And yeah, what do you mean you have a 10-foot ladder? You've had it this whole time? How have you been able to actually walk around this dungeon? I mean, it's only been 5 feet in a lot of places in width. I think the explanation that he was very stout.
Yeah. How old were you when you started playing then? Because
Maybe 11 or 12,
all right, I didn't start till about 8th grade.
which
Or
would
so.
mean that I've been playing D&D off and on for 30 years.
Yeah, I'm not far behind you.
Oh,
Mine would have been 13 is when I started, something like that. And then
I seem to recall a certain back close to that time a pizza party Pepsi infused attempt at Keep on the Borderlands or whatever it was, where we had future tech running around, and we had like every single player had like 3 characters because we were dying that fast.
isn't that Gamma World?
No,
No, that was before that.
this was Gamma World Invades the D&D first edition.
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember one of my first adventures. A buddy of mine in high school or middle school brought me into a dungeon, my very first dungeon, and I was like a warrior, and he had me walk into a room, and it was full of gnomes. It was just randomly in this, like, you walk around a corner of this dungeon after getting past a portcullis, and all of a sudden there's just a bunch of gnomes apparently working in a dungeon in like an underground sweatshop or something. I don't know what they were doing there. I don't know why they were there, but I walked into the room, and apparently, they didn't like me, And so they all en masse started running at me. And so my character freaked out, ran away, closed the gate behind me, and then they all like slammed up against it and were trying to get me. And I just remember this very memorable moment where I was like, can I just like throw my flask of oil on them and light them on fire? And I did. And it worked great.
Dungeons and Dragons, teaching arson to preteens everywhere.
Yes. Luckily, it didn't translate to real life. But it was.
I mean, I learned arson before then, and then it's translated into D&D.
Well, how long?
You know which friend I'm referring to.
Yeah.
When we're not saving these videos for posterity's sake, are we?
Well, what? It's not my fault he ended up in an 18-foot fireball.
Oh, I had a particular DM that wanted to insist that a fireball would occupy the entire area of effect. So the 33,000 cubic feet of a fireball.
Which was what it was in AD&D. It was what they called it. They didn't say it was a 30-foot radius. It was 33,000 square feet you had to figure out.
Cubic feet.
Or cubic feet, yeah.
But it would occupy every single space in the dungeon. You cast a fireball and it would affect like 20 rooms. You died, but so did everything else in the dungeon. Fireball! Boom! Because it would channel all the fire into all the tunnels, was the DM's idea. Yeah. This was a man that I first played Paranoia with, though. So there might have been a tendency established.
I could see that.
I had a character eviscerated by a hood ornament in that game.
I mean, games can have a profound effect on us. I've known you for a long time. We've played all kinds of games together, and it never, ever, 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 and I'm going to put it on Twitch record, will I ever forget the time you betrayed me, you bastard.
Battletech.
Yep. We were both. See, his brother was really good at Battletech, really good, and we both knew that we had no chance against him winning at all.
Yeah,
unless we
teamed
team
up to kill him.
So we both have him in a good position. We both have our sights on him. I get up close and I create this unified front with my friend, and I turn and I shoot at his brother, and he shoots me in the back and kills me. and anyone that's played BattleTech in that edition knows that the back of your mech was way, way weaker than the front of your mech. So essentially, he one-shot me, and I died, and then his brother exterminated him.
Yep. Was pretty sure I knew how the game was going to go anyway. Adam would have killed us both.
Yeah.
Even with us teaming up against him.
Way to give up.
So my mythology that I had for the game was that we were clan warriors trying to prove ourselves. So you had to at least defeat a person to move on. I don't know how much buy-in Matt had on this particular narrative.
Yeah, it's first I've heard of it. After 20-some years.
Oh, I'm sure I might have at least thought about that what it was in your general direction.
Did you ever play Everway with me when I had that game?
I didn't play it with you, but I did play it in college. I think I might have actually turned you on to Everway when it was, hey, there's this cool game system that doesn't involve dice.
Yeah, possibly, very possibly. I had a lot of fun playing that as well. I kind of hope. Speaking of old games, old systems, old adventures, I kind of hope that for 5th edition, they bring forth the Dragon Mountain adventure, because it was awesome. Of course, it was also the first foray into AD&D going, kobolds can have a class and be way more of a pain in the butt than just being a kobold. They can be fighters.
Kobolds are already a pain in the butt. You can just all you have to do is have like 30 of them, and suddenly, unless you have something like AOE, they're a big danger.
Yep.
Or just have 4 pack tactics.
Yep.
Advantage.
Well, these days, 4 pack tactics, and they're all level 20 adventurers, and all of a sudden, they're not so cute anymore.
I died because I got hamstringed by a gang of kobolds. They brought me down to their level and then beat me with experience.
What are some of the most memorable deaths you've had in games? Other than my aforementioned getting betrayed, which I'll never forget.
Most of the thing is that I never really tried to drive for killing players off, so and I never really had it affected in my same way. I've always been more of a fan of the heroes when it comes to DMing.
Yeah, me too.
So it's you stretch out the random nature somewhat to preserve the idea that the players are in dire straits. For own deaths, getting eviscerated by the hood ornament in Paranoia was memorable. Died before I even made it to the mission briefing.
I agree with you that I like to make people feel heroic, but I also feel like DMing is kind of trying to find that balance where they feel heroic and it's tough, but at the same time, if somebody makes a poor choice, they die.
Well, you have to punish stupidity.
Yeah. Like I had a player in my campaign I run regularly off the air, and we're running the Out of the Abyss adventure, and I had one player that had to leave. It's a bunch of us coworkers that play at lunch, so he had to leave because he found a new job and he just wasn't going to get to play anymore. So I decided that the perfect death for him would be a purple worm just coming through the wall and eating him. And one of the other players decided to attack the purple worm. Now they're level 5 at this point. And
it's a good level to take on a purple worm with you and 50 friends.
Yeah, but it wasn't 50. So he attacks the purple worm. He actually does manage to hit it. He does some damage. And my original plan was that the purple worm was just going to eat the guy and then keep going on with its business. Well, the player attacking the purple worm made it decide that it was going to do a once-off, hit it with its stinger on the way out. And so I rolled the dice and rolled a crit. And then I pulled my card, and it was a triple damage card. So I rolled. He failed his save on the poison, took triple damage, and I believe he took somewhere in the neighborhood of 160 damage, and just died.
Sounds about right.
Outright died, massive damage. Luckily, that was right after they bought their first diamond, and they revivified him immediately. But that was...
I would have paused maybe a little bit.
Oh, the cleric... the cleric waited.
Yes, we have a diamond, but we need to ensure that it has the proper clarity.
The cleric did say he waited 59 seconds before he raised him to make him sweat for, for doing that.
Stupidity shall be punished.
Yep.